Okay, good morning class. Today we will be discussing backlinking of column theory. So this is the basis of designing a column based on AISC. Okay, so the AISC code provisions is based on this theory or this theory by famous mathematician Euler. Okay, and many designers still using this concept and this theory in designing columns. Okay, so so for the common compression members, so last meeting we determined the common tension members. So this time, common compression members. So before we start, a compression members is an element, okay, structural element that is capable uh, experiencing axial compression. So this one. So this is an example of a compression members. Okay, so what are the common steel shapes in compression members? Okay, we have the round bars. Okay, we have flat bars. We have angle bars, double angle, starred angle, channel, double channel, a lattice channels, a W section, an S section, and a built-up section. Note that this is also the same to typical tension members. Okay, so for columns, definition of columns, a column is a compression members that are structural elements that are subjected to only axial compressive forces. So this is the loads that are applied along the longitudinal axis through the centroid of the member cross section, and the stress can be taken as obviously we have force over area. Okay, where F is considered to be uniform over the entire cross section. So we are assuming that there is no eccentricity. Okay, so the most common type of compression member occurring in the building and the bridges is the column, a vertical member whose primary function is to support the vertical loads. So in many instances, these members are also subjected to bending. So in these cases, the member is beam column. Okay, so kapag meron na siyang subjected to siya sa bending or we have eccentricity, we call it a beam column. Okay, so smaller compression members not classified as column are sometimes referred as struts. Okay, so this is a column. So there are two failure modes of column. We have a crashing failure and we have a buckling failure. Okay, so buckling is sudden large lateral deformation of a structure due to the slight increase of an existing load. So failure due to instability of the member. So yung crashing, again, that is yung crashing yung your material or start to crash. Buckling is this one. Okay, so there are also two classification of buckling of structural members. We have the general buckling and local buckling. Okay, so going back to the two limit states. So I forget to mention. So for crashing failure, so imagine, okay, this one. Okay, imagine you have let's say you have the okay, you have a ruler which is relatively small. Then you have a longer ruler which is relatively longer than your first ruler. So this one is under a failure mode of crashing failure, and this one is under a failure modes of buckling failure. So why? Because this is relatively small. We call it as small columns or non-slender columns. Okay, so if you apply a compression load, okay, since this is relatively small, obviously your column cross section will yield or will crash. It will only crash. Okay, this one. Okay. However, if your column is relatively long, or we call it slender columns, okay, so we are expecting a backlink failure. This one. Okay, there we are considering a backlink failure like this one. So generally, crashing failure often occurs to small columns or non-slender columns, and backlink failure commonly occurs for long column or slender columns. Okay, and also we have two classifications of backlink. We have the general backlink and we have the local backlinks. Okay, so for example, we have these two figure. This is an example of a general backlink, or we call it sometimes as flexural backlink. And this one is the local backlink. So general backlink, this occurs when the section has no slender elements and often referred as a flexural backlink. So we have a global backlink in our structure. However, for local backlink, this will occur when the section has slender elements. So later in the discussion, you will understand what is slender and non-slender elements. Okay, so we have this backlink of flanges and backlink of the webs. So as you can see in this figure, you have local backlink in the flanges. So this is the flanges of our column. So if you cut a cross section here, this one, you cut a cross section dito. Okay, we can see that our flanges is locally buckled. So this one. Okay, like this one. Okay. There is a local backlink in our flanges. So that is local backlink. So as this module is only focus on the general backlink or the flexural backlink, and this local backlink is we will understand this local backlink in the near future for our next modules. Okay, so for under the general backlink or under a column, so again, there are two types of column. We have a short column or the non-slender column, and we have a long column which is slender columns. So generally, the short columns are crashing failure will governs. And for long column, we have backlink failure will govern. So just like this one. So we have relatively small columns or short column. Then the crashing failure of a short column is like this one. And for long column, so backlink failure or the general backlink or the flexural backlink will occur. Okay, so ideally, column with pin support. So we are going to derive the general equation for the Euler backlink theory or the Euler backlink theory. So he uses an ideal column with pin supports. So there we have a pin supported at the top of our column, and we have a pin supports at the bottom of our column. Okay, so if we apply the load P, then using our coordinate deflection at X or vertical deflections with X and horizontal deflections with Y. So if drawing a free body diagram, we have this one. So summation forces at vertical. So if we have a point load at the top P, therefore we have a reaction at the bottom with vertical reactions with P. Then the moment is summing moments, the summing moments of our free body diagram. So moment lang neto is basically P times Y or the force times distance. So this is P times Y. This therefore we have ito yung ating summing moments. We have negative PY. Okay. Then by strength of material, your EI d squared y over dx squared is your m, or your moments. And summing moments is equals to m, which is negative py. And substituting our value of m in our differential equation of elastic curve, we have EI d squared y over dx squared equals to negative py. Okay, then divide all terms by flexural stiffness EI. So we have d squared y over dx squared plus p over EI multiplied by y equals to 0. Okay, then we have an auxiliary equations. So if you recall your differential equations, the roots of our auxiliary equations is the solution of our differential equations, or our ordinary differential equations. So we have d squared y plus p over EI times y equals to 0. Okay. Then we are taking d squared y to be m squared, and we have p over EI equals to 0. Then solving for the roots of our auxiliary equations, of differential equations, we have positive negative square root of p over EI times imaginary number I. Okay, so the general solution to this problem, since we have imaginary roots. So if you recall differential equations with auxiliary equations or auxiliary equations, if you have roots that is imaginary roots, or a plus bi, okay, so you have cosine, you have a general solution, which is y that is equals to c1 cosine square root of p over ei times x, which is basically your roots, okay, plus c2 sine square root of p over ei times x. Then taking the boundary conditions at x equals to 0 and y equals 0. So y at x equals 0, there is y equals 0 because we have pin supports. So there is no at x equals 0, let's say this one, okay, or there is no vertical or horizontal displacement at your x equals to 0. That is why you have a boundary conditions that is x equals 0, you have y equals 0. And again, since this is both pins, so at top, at x equals to L, again, your deflection is 0, or your y equals to 0. Okay, then substituting our boundary conditions into the general solutions like this one. So boundary condition 1, let's say x equals to 0 and y equals to 0. Therefore, 0 equals to c1 cosine 0 plus c2 sine 0. Then solving for the value of the constants. So sine 0 is 0. So this will cancel out. Therefore, c1 is equals to 0. Then substitute our boundary conditions 2. That is x equals to L, y equals to 0. Then since our c1 is equals to 0, therefore our y is only this term, your c1, c2 sine square root of p over eix. Then substituting our x equals to L, we have 0 equals to c2 sine square root of p over ei L. Okay, this is true. Okay, this is true, always true, if the value of our constant c2 is 0. However, c2 cannot be 0 since our solution is undefined if we let c2 that is equals to 0. Therefore, we only need to let our second term, which is sine square root of p over ei times L, to be 0. And this is non-zero. The constant c2 is non-zero. Okay, so therefore, we have sine square root of p over EIL equals to 0. So which is satisfied if, okay, if, so taking the sine of inverse of both sides, okay. So therefore, we have sine inverse of 0. So if you recall the sine inverse of 0, okay, so that is pi. Then since we are rotating, so we have to indicate the value n. So from n equals to 1, 2, 3. So therefore, we have square root of p over ei times L, which is equals to n pi. Okay, now solving for p, so taking the square root of both terms. Okay, that is n squared pi squared times ei over L squared. Okay, this is our solution for the backling load P. Okay, this is the load P. Okay, that will cause these deformations. Okay, so again, we have a value of N, which is 1, 2, 3, and so on, and so on, so forth. Okay, so the critical backling load is the smallest value of P, which we can obtain when we let the N value to be 1. So just like this one. So if we let N value to be 1, that is the smallest value of P, or the backling load P. Okay, so therefore the critical load for the column is pi squared EI over L squared. So this one. So kaya ito naging multiplier is 1, that is N equals to 1. So what you have left is this term pi squared EI over L squared. Okay, therefore we call this equation as the Euler-Backling equation. Okay, so this is Euler-Backling equation. Okay, so this is the Euler-Backling equation, and this is the derived equation of Euler, or the mathematical or the mathematician Euler, right, for backling load. So this is the we call it as PCR, or the critical backling loads for columns with pin supports. Take note that this is only for the assumptions of both ends are pin. Okay, then we have E, that is the modulus of elasticity for the material. We have I to be the least moment of inertia about the bending axis. And L is the unsupported length of the column, or we call it the sine wave. Note that the Euler-Backling equation is only valid for elastic action. So we are considering elastic deformation only. So the critical load is independent of the strength of the material. Rather, it depends only on the column's dimensions I and L, and the material stiffness E. Okay, so the load carrying capacity of a column will increase as the moment of inertia of the cross section increases. So this is very obvious. If we increase the inertia, or if we increase the section, the load carrying capacity of our column is also increasing. Then a column will buckle about the principal axis of the cross section. So this will happen if this will happen in the weakest axis, or having the least moment of inertia. Okay, so that is the critical backling load based on the Euler-Backling equation. Okay, then using these equations, pi squared EI over L squared. So letting I is equals to AR squared based on your strength of materials. If you recall, the radius of gyration is equals to square root of I over A. So taking squared both sides and solving for I, we have this one, I is equals to AR squared, where your A is the cross-sectional area and R is the radius of gyration. Okay, then the backling formula becomes pi squared EA or R squared over L squared. Then rearranging and using L over R, so we have this one, pi squared EA over L over R squared. Okay, we have a new notation for L over R. We call it the slenderness ratio. Okay, the slenderness ratio is property of our structural element. So this is the ratio of the unbraced length, or the effective length L, to the radius of gyration. Okay, then since this is a critical backling load, this in terms of force. Okay, so going back to our equations, na force over area is equals to stress. So dividing this critical backling load to the cross-sectional area of our column, so we have the sigma CR, or we call it the critical backling stress. So the critical backling stress is basically pi squared E over L over R squared. So you can use this equation Okay, you can for the critical backlink stress. Okay, or you can use this equation if you only have the radius of gyration r and you don't have this least moment of inertia. So you have these equations. So take note that if your critical backlink stress, which is sigma CR, is greater than your sigma YP, or the critical yielding point or yielding stress, therefore your failure is crashing. Then if your critical backlink load is less than your yield stress, okay, or yield strength of the material, therefore the failure is a backlink. Okay, whereas your sigma YP again is the stress at the yield point or the yield strength of our material. Okay, so backlink occurs about the axis where the slenderness ratio is L over R, that is maximum. So please note of this one. The backlink occurs at the axis of the maximum slenderness ratio. Okay, maximum slenderness ratio. Okay, then we also have a graph of failure by crashing and failure by backlink depending on the slenderness ratio. So if we go back to our demand to equals to the capacity, so this is our demand load and this is our capacity. Okay, then the critical backlink load multiplied by A, or the stress backlink load, times A, that is equals less than or equal to sigma YP times A. Therefore, sigma CR is equals to sigma YP, or taking equilibrium yung ating demand and capacity. Okay, so our demand is pi squared E over L over R squared. This is your demand load, and this is your capacity, which is sigma YP. Okay, then pi squared E over sigma YP, you have these notations L over R squared. Okay, we call this, if we let the critical backlink load CCR to be sigma YP, which is the yield point or the yield strength of our material, this is what we call the minimum slenderness ratio. So this is the formula for the minimum slenderness ratio. Okay, so basically, you just use sigma YP to be your critical backlink stress. Okay, so that is this one. Okay, so if you graph the slenderness ratio versus the critical stresses, sigma YP and sigma CR, so anything below the minimum slenderness ratio, okay, that is failure by crashing. So it means that our column will only fail for crashing. And if your slenderness ratio or the governing slenderness ratio is greater than the minimum slenderness ratio, or L over R mean, your failure will, the failure of your column will buckles. Okay, then this is the graph for sigma CR, pi squared E over L over R squared. So writing our understanding in the graph. So if our L over R, which is less than 2, L over R mean, failure by crashing will govern, and we have a short column. And if we have a slenderness ratio L over R that is greater than L over R mean, then we have a failure by backlink, or we call it a long column. Okay, then we also have this one. So column theory. So consolidating what we have discussed in the previous slides. So PCR is equals to the critical backlink load, that is pi squared EI over KL squared, or the effective length L. And the slender, and then the critical buckling stress, sigma CR is equals to pi squared E over KL over R squared. Okay, so what is KL? Okay, LE is our effective length. So if you go back to the previous slides, this is only L. This is only L. Okay, however, that L is the effective length. So that is KL. So what if we have different support conditions? So we have different value of K, or the effective length factor, or we call it a fixicity factor or fixity factor. Then KL over R is the effective slenderness ratio, and R is the radius of gyration. So this is the list of theoretical value of our fixicity factor or fixity factor, or the effective length factor. So more on this on AIS's effective length factor. So if we have load support conditions of both ends are pin, okay, our K value is 1. So that is why if you recall to our formula, naging L na lang to lahat, L na lang to lahat. Since the first assumption is both ends are pin. Okay, both ends are pin. So this one. Okay. So if we apply a load for our pin-ended columns like this one, we are assuming that all the lengths is effective in buckling like this one. So if our fixed end and free ends, okay, we have fixed, then this one, and we have a free end. So we have LE that is twice times L. Okay? So ano yung length na sinusukat natin? So what are the lengths that we are measuring? Okay, the length that we are measuring is, if you recall in calculus, we have what we call contraflexure, or point of okay, I think change in curvature, or change in curvature. Okay, so in calculus we have the change in curvature, or the second derivative of our graph, which is the change in curvature. And we have in strength of material, we call it a point of contraflexure. Okay, that is the point where our graph is changing the concavity, or the elastic curve change its concavity. So just like this one. So if both ends are pin, our member is will buckle 100% of our length will buckle like this one. So this is the change in concavity, change in curvature, and this point is also the change in curvature if we continuously graph our member, or our length L. So that is therefore your LE is equals to L. Therefore your K is 1. Okay, so example, let's say we have fixed and free ends like this one. Okay, so if we graph the fixed and free ends, so the point of change in curvature is at this location, and the other one is at this location. So if we continuously graph this curve, graph this curve, okay, this one. So therefore your distance of change in curvature is twice of your total length L. So therefore you have a fixicity factor that is K equals to 2. Okay, so what if you have a fixed ended support conditions? So if you have fixed-ended support conditions like this one, okay, the point of contraflexure or the point of changing curvature is at this location. If we graph the curve, so if you have fixed, so yung una dyan hindi pa mag-curve, then doon pa lang mag-start yung curve. Then at the other ends, doon pa lang din mag-start yung curve. So this point and this point is the change in curvature or the point of contraflexure. And that length, the total length of that, the distance of that point of contraflexures is 0.5 L or 1/2 of your total length L. That is why your fixity factor or fixity factor is 0.5. Okay. Hello class, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Yes, yes, po.
Yes, sir. Okay. Okay. Next, loading conditions or with support conditions. Let's say we have a pin and fixed ends. So we have pin-ended connection at this location, at the top, or maybe at the bottom, and you have a fixed condition at the bottom. So that the length in curvature, if we continuously grab our if we continuously grab our length, so a point load P is applied. Then if we continuously graph like this one, so the distance of the change in curvatures is this location and also this location. So the distance of that change in curvatures or the distance of your change in curvatures is 0.7 of your L. Okay, that is why you have fixity factor of 0.7. Okay, so again, this is a theoretical K value. So assuming that we are 100% or perfectly constructed yung ating structure. So this is a theoretical K value. So other more on effective lengths. So for example, we have no joint translations. So we have end rotation or unrestrained. Again, we have this one. End rotation fully restrained. Again, we have this one. Restrain at the at one ends and pin at the other ends. We have 0.7 L. And what if we have partially restraints at each end? Okay, so we have this one. Okay, so we have also the AISC is effective length factor. Okay, so yung theoretical value is the same. The theoretical value is the same. However, they have this recommended design value since in the construction, we cannot create a perfectly constructed structural element. So that is why they have this factor of value K. So if we have both ends are pin assumption, both ends are fixed assumption, our theoretical value of 0.5 will now be 0.65. Okay, the theoretical value of fixed and pin ended connections or ended supports. So we have theoretical value of 0.7 now be 0.8. Then we have theoretical value for this one and both ends are pin, they are still 1.0. Okay, we have fixed and free. So you have theoretical value of K and the recommended design value is 2.1. Okay, so that is the AISC effective length factors. Okay, then if this one, sorry, okay, I always, okay, this one, we call it FE or the Euler buckling stress is the same to the notation of sigma CR. Okay, this is this one. Okay, so this is the notation uses in the AISC manual. Okay, so some important points in designing columns based on theory of backlings by Eulers. Okay, so we are, for example, we are considering this column. Okay, this column. Okay, this X axis and we have this y-axis. So we have a lateral bracing at the mid-height, effective length for about the y-axis. What is a lateral bracing? Okay, so wait. So wait, I will open. Wait lang class, nag-hang yata yung PowerPoint ko. Wait. Okay. Okay. So the lateral bracing is let's say we have this column. So imagine this is straight column. Okay, there is no flexural buckling. Okay, so this one. And okay, just imagine this is a straight column. Okay. Okay. This one. So according to the problem, we are having a column, or let's say this let's say we have this column section, wide flange section. According to the problem, they have a lateral bracing at the mid height and effective only for bending about the y-axis. Okay, so ang example non class is you just add a bracing dito sa mid height, so and a bracing dito. Okay, naglagay ka ng bracing dito sa kabila. Okay, nag-gets nyo ba? Yan. Send backward. And just click this one. Okay. During construction, during the design, you added a lateral bracing at the mid height. So since we have okay, meron din tayo ditong, let's say diba dito we have the wide bending in y-axis, and this one is the bending in x-axis. So the bending in the y-axis, since you added a lateral bracing, so ang bend niya ngayon is ganyan. Okay, mag-curve siya ng ganyan and maybe ganyan. Okay, so that is if you apply a lateral bracing in the direction for the bending in the y-axis. Then, however, if you added a lateral bracing, okay, if you added a lateral bracing at this location, it's maybe this. Okay. This location, mid-height of for the y-axis, for the x-axis bending, and this location, okay, it is pointed at the located at the mid-height and the middle of the flanges. Okay, then the bending now in the y and the x-axis, bending now in the x-axis will be this curve, then this curve. Okay, so that is the purpose of lateral bracing. Okay. Okay, naglolo ko talaga yung PowerPoint. Wait. Okay, so that is the purpose of putting a lateral bracing in our column. Okay, then according to the problem, let's say the designer put the lateral bracing at the mid height and effective only for the bending in the y-axis. So therefore, naglagay siya ng lateral bracing. Okay, lateral bracing at this location. So yeah, this and this one. Okay, he added, or the designer added the lateral bracing for the bending in the y-axis. Sorry, it should be for bending in the y-axis. You added a lateral bracing here and here. So if you look to the y direction, so if you check the view or the y section, y direction, so y, this is y and this is x. So if you look, so this is our x and y. Okay, then if you look in the y direction, ito yung makikita mo. And if you look in the x direction, okay, this one is what you see in the elevation view. Okay, so again, since you added lateral bracing, your effective length KL, so the lateral bracing is only, we assume that the lateral bracing is only pin. Okay, we always assume that our lateral bracing is pin. Okay, since we have a top that is pin and the lateral bracing is also pin, therefore your K is 1.0, like this one. Your fixity factor K is 1.0. So this is mid height, so therefore K times L over 2, that is 1.0 times L over 2. Your effective length in y axis is K is L over 2, and this is also L over 2. Okay, then looking into the x axis, this one. So since there is no bracing attached in the x axis, bending in the x axis, so you have this bending. Okay, makikita kang bending na ganito. Okay, so reminder that buckling occurs about the axis where the slenderness ratio is maximum. So therefore, we always choose the maximum slenderness ratio or the maximum effective length. Okay, maximum effective length if we have the same radius of gyration. Okay, so this is only one parameter in solving for the slenderness ratio if you added lateral bracing. So the question is, what if the cross section is a square? Okay, what if the cross section is a square? So take note that if the cross section is square, your radius of gyration Rx and Ry is the same. So therefore, since you have KL in the x-axis, that is L, and your KL, okay, your KL, your KL in, bakit nagbabago lagi sa eraser? Lolo ko, bakit? Your K L in the y-axis, KL in the y-axis, K is L over 2. Okay, your KL in the x-axis is L. So since you have both radius of gyration to be equal, so Rx and Ry are the same. So the slenderness ratio, that is KL over R. Okay, so therefore your L over Rx is greater than L over 2 times Ry. since Rx and Ry are the same. So therefore, the slenderness ratio in X is greater than the slenderness ratio in Y. Therefore, the buckling occurs about the X-axis. Okay. So again, what if the cross-section is rectangular? So if the cross-section is rectangular, your radius of gyration Rx is less than Ry, since ganito yung ating notation sa section natin. Okay, with Rx is greater than Ry, so therefore, so if we increase Rx in our slenderness ratio for in X, so KL over R of X is greater than KL over R in Y. Therefore, the buckling occurs about the X-axis. Then what if the cross-section is rectangular with Rx each is greater than Ry? Okay, Rx is greater than Ry. So we have no choice but to calculate the slenderness ratio for both axes. So the maximum value is the one that governs. So since we cannot determine if Rx is greater than Ry, so how much Rx is greater than Ry, so we cannot determine that that notation, since our KLX is L and KLY is L over 2. Okay, so that is why we have no choice but to calculate the slenderness ratio for both axes. Okay, and please always note that the maximum value gives the maximum value of the slenderness ratio always governs, or the buckling occurs when at the location of your maximum slenderness ratio. Okay, another example is, let's say, if we consider the column given with supported by tie rods. Okay, so we have this condition. Let's say you have this section X and Y. Okay, you have this X and we have this Y axis. Okay, the conditions, this is tie rod. Okay, tie rod is assuming tie rod, we always assume tie rod gives a pin connection. Let's say that is pin connection. Okay, this one is always gives a pin-ended connection. Okay, tie rod always gives a pin connections. Okay, so looking at the y-axis, this one. Okay, so if you look at the y-axis, so we have this pin-ended at the top and fixed at the bottom. So this is fixed and this is pin-ended due to tie rod. However, if you look to the x-axis direction, okay, if you look to the x-axis direction, we don't have tie rods in the in supporting for the bending in x-axis. So if we add this tie rod over here, and over here, okay, we have the same fixed pin conditions. However, in our example, so looking at the x-axis direction, so we have this fixed free. So free siya sa top. So you have free conditions at the top. Okay, so more on effective length. So what if we have frame, or we have 2D frames or 3D frames? So what is the effective length? Okay, so effective length for KL in frames. So we have these two conditions. We have the brace frame and unbraced frame. So lateral stability is provided by diagonal bracing, shear walls, or equivalent means. That is a brace frame. And unbraced frame, if we have moment resisting frames, so lateral stability depends on the bending stiffness and rigid connected beams and columns. Okay, based on the AISC commentary requires the second order P delta analysis for determining the effective lengths of the columns in the frames. This is impractical for ordinary designs. So basically, a brace frame is you added diagonal bracing. There is a shear walls and let's say a chevron bracing. So that is a brace frame. An unbraced frame is basically an ordinary frame where we have a beam and column, and only depends on the bending stiffness of the connection of the beams and columns. Okay, so that is unbraced frame. Okay, so how to solve for the effective length of a frame? So we have this what we call alignment chart. Okay, so the alignment chart is given in the table CA-7.1 of the AISC manual. It will provide approximate value for the effective length factor based on idealized boundary conditions. So the alignment charts evaluate the rigidity of the joints at each end of a column segments. So column segments are defined by rigid connections with beam. Okay, so the rotational restraint provided by beams at the end of a columns are function of the rotational stiffness of the member rigidly attached to the joint. So let's say we have this frame. Okay, A is always at the top. Is always at the top joint, and B is always at the bottom joint. Okay, so let's say we are considering the effective length of this column, of these ground floor columns, and this one. Okay, so using the formula based on AISC, that the G at the joint is basically the ratio of the summation of EI of over L of column and EI over L of beams. So rewriting our equation, that is summation of EI over L and summation of EI over L of columns and beams. Okay. So GA as defined by the equation and GB is since we are considering this column, yung GA natin or G at top, as we can solve it using this equation, and your GB is 1.0 for column rigidly attached to a properly designed footing, and GB that is 10 for column that is pinned. Okay, so since our column is has fixed-ended supports, okay, fixed support, so therefore your GB value is 1.0. Then for GA, you need to solve for the EI over L in columns and EI over L for beams. Okay, summation of EI over L of beams. So basically, how to solve for GA is this one. So let's say you have this as B1. Okay, this is B2 and this is column 1. This is column 2. Okay. So GA is basically equals to EI over L of column. So therefore, what is EI over L of column C1 plus EI over L of column C2 divided by EI over L of column B1 plus EI over L of column B2. Okay, so since you have at joint A you have four members. You have C1, C2, B1, and B2. You have four members attached to joint A. So that is how you solve for GA. Okay, so just summation of EI over L of columns and divided by the summation of EI over L for beams. So after solving for GA and GB, or G at top and G at bottom, or sometimes they use the notation phi A and phi sub B. Okay, sometimes they use this notation. Okay. So after solving for GA and GB, okay, then you need to get alignment chart. So you use alignment chart based on your frames. So if you have a brace frame or you have unbraced frame or moment frames. So this is the alignment chart for brace frame, and this is alignment chart for moment frames or unbraced frame. Okay, so you just plot what is the value of your GA and what is the value of GB, then align the 2 points, and the intersection of 2 points in this line chart K is your value of your fixity factor K. Okay, so for example, in our problem, our GA, what we solve for GA is 5, and we have a value of GB that is 1. So connecting the points GA and GB, then the point of intersection of that line to the alignment chart K, the line chart K, that is the value of your K. So whereas your K is assumed to be 0.85. Okay, so that is how you solve for the value of K or the fixity factor K for frames. Okay, so if you take note that the value of K for brace frame is always less than 1.0. And the value of K for moment frames is always greater than 1.0. Okay, so since the elastic curve for or the deflections in brace frame is these assumptions, okay, always ganito. And for moment frames, they have this large deflection delta. Okay, that is why you have a value of K that is much greater than 1.0. Okay, this one. Okay, so there is also adjustment for alignment chart K factors and elastic actions. Okay, so this is given in the ASC table 4-13. So the alignment chart is used to evaluate the K. So there is an implicit assumption that elastic buckling controls. So when the column is inelastic and the beam is elastic, okay, an adjustment must be made in the restraint factor G for evaluating the value of K. Okay, so what if our conditions in our frame is inelastic, okay, and the other conditions for our beam is elastic? So you need to introduce a stiffness reduction factor tau sub B. Okay, the stiffness reduction factor tau sub B is okay y. Okay, the stiffness reduction tau sub B is the ratio of FCR inelastic over FCR elastic. Okay, then it is also the same. So summation of EI over L for column and summation of EI over L for beam. Okay, whereas your EI over L in column is under inelastic condition. Okay, that is also G elastic and tau multiplied by stiffness reduction factor tau sub B. Okay, this one. So your tau sub B, if you check the P over A of your column, let's say this one, the P over A of your column, say the stress in your column is 49 KSI. Okay, this one, 49 KSI. And you are using an FY that is 50 KSI. So if you are using LRFD design philosophy, your tau sub B should be 0.0784. And this reduction factor 0.0784, you will multiply that to your G elastic. So your G elastic is what you solve in the previous slides, this one, yung na-solve mo dito. Okay, then, and that GN elastic is your the value that you will be using in this alignment chart. Okay, so that is how you use stiffness reduction factor. Okay, so do you have any questions, guys? So clarifications in our before we end this lecture. Okay. Ayun, may question ba ka, class? Hindi na natin kayang tapusin yung example problems. So, okay, I will upload this lecture, module 6 for the buckling of column theory or in your Blackboard, and please download nyo na lang. Then next meeting you will be having your first quiz for designing tension members. Okay, that is Tuesday, which is February 15. Okay, so February 15, you will be having your first quiz. Okay, then February 15, then February 17, we will be discussing example problems in designing in buckling theory, and also we will introduce the AISC provisions for designing columns. So again, the AISC provisions in designing columns are derived from this buckling theory. Okay, so the coverage of your exam or of your first quiz is designing tension members. Okay, so you have three limit states. So you will you will determine the 3 limit states, so based on yielding, fracture, and block shear. Okay, there is okay, please add Mr. Cabrong Ong daw for group 1. Okay, for your group 1. So if you have messenger, communication. Okay, may question pa, class?
Sir?
Yes?
Sir, yung recording po ba, pwede po bang mahingi yan, sir?
Yes, andin lang yun sa Google Drive natin.
Ay, okay po, sir. Thank you po.
Just open your Google Drive, and also included the AISC manual. So if you want to check the AISC manual, nandun na rin yun sa Google Drive natin. So please open the Google Drive. Okay, I will announce the submission of the plates in the lab. So i-announce ko na lang siya later. Okay, sige. Any more questions? Sa lab na lang natin pag-usapan. Okay, again,